And let us dive right into the subject matter at hand, okay, which is legal reasoning section of the CLAT official paper of 2020. Okay, so I'm going to share that on the screen in a minute. You will be able to see it. Okay, I hope it's visible to all of you, the screen. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so
We have already kind of read out this passage yesterday and discussed it as well. We have done one or two questions. We'll continue with the remaining questions. But before we do that, would anyone like to summarize once again what does this passage say? What briefly, very basically, in one word, in one line, in 1 minute, what exactly is this passage talking about? What is it trying to say? Anyone? Please raise your hand.
yes, so I can try.
It's all about practice. If you knew everything, then you would be in a class right now, right? Try your
Okay,
best.
so
Share your thoughts. Don't worry.
so this passage is basically about the COVID-19 pandemic, in which some kind of like what we can do for that, and material adverse effect or the clauses which are present, like we have provisions for that in that situation what we can do. So there are some provisions mentioned in this passage. We are basically talking about those provisions and their exceptions as well.
Okay. Basically, as Mimansha said, and as yesterday also we discussed, any contract has few clauses which relate to, what happens when the terms of that contract are not met by the party. That is known as breach of contract. Okay. So suppose, like I gave example yesterday also of like selling a pen. So suppose like you promised to sell me a pen and I promised to pay you the money. Okay. You definitely gave the pen to me on that particular day, but I did not give you the money. That is a breach of contract on my part. I had a promise, I had an obligation to fulfill, which I did not. That is why I am in breach. But let us say that in the same situation, at night the factory burnt down, which was manufacturing the pens, or the shop burnt down, which was storing the pens. Then can you really say it's my fault? Obviously not, because it wasn't in anyone's control, right? It was an act of God, we can say. Some force larger than us did that action, right? That is why it is known as act of God, or it is known as force majeure, means a force which is larger than us, right? So it could be a terrorist activity, it could be a war, insurrection, or it could be fire, flood, these kind of things. Altogether, the reason why we are discussing this in so much detail is because of coronavirus, COVID-19. COVID-19 is a perfect example of act of God, right? So many contracts were there, so many agreements were there, so many business plans were there, which all fell to the ground because of coronavirus. Okay, perfect example of pandemic, perfect example of act of God. All right. So, having said all of these things, now that we have even understood the passage second time, we had solved, I think, the first 2 or 3 questions. Okay. Now, let us move on to the last 2 questions. Okay. And then we can continue with the next paragraph. Okay. So, let us begin with question number 69, which again mentions the same fact situation as 68. So instead of going to 68, let us go back to 67. Now, based on the author argument in passage above, which of the following is correct? Force majeure clauses generally have a uniform impact on the performance of contract in all the cases. If you have read the passage, you will understand that it has been clearly mentioned that there are different impact in different places. Okay, so this cannot be the answer. Now, the impact on the performance of contract by the usage of force majeure clauses is dependent upon the way such clauses have been constructed in a particular contract. This is obviously the opposite of what is written in A. Okay. Now, when I have said that the opposite has been mentioned, now let us find where it has been mentioned. Okay. So, if you see here, the impact on the performance of contracts is dependent on the way such clauses have been constructed in a particular contract. Okay, right. Can you see the highlight over here? What I have made. Though there cannot be a one-size-fits-all solution to this question, and it depends upon how the force majeure clause is worded in a specific contract. Similarly, it has been written, it depends on the way the clauses have been constructed in a particular contract, as we discussed yesterday as well. So this is a clear one-to-one clear-cut answer. There's no confusion over here. Okay, it's literally just English comprehension. All right. Now, moving to the second one. Again, they have given a fact-based situation. Just like we had in our sample papers, there might have been a paragraph in which there might have been some textual, material. After that, they have given some, problem-based questions in the question and answer part. Okay, same thing over here. Imagine there is a domestic commercial contract. Means, of course, it's a hypothetical situation for supply of certain goods for certain price between A and B. However, in pursuance of the same, both A and B forget to negotiate and agree. So basically in the contract, there is no particular force majeure clause. Okay, now what you are going to do? Now, obviously the options are that since there is no force majeure clause, you cannot apply that force majeure clause. Secondly, even though there is no force majeure clause, you can apply the material adverse change, the MAC and may clauses which are there. Okay. Thirdly, you can go to the applicable law. Means even if nothing has been written down in particular in a contract, obviously, like for example, if you and I have made a contract saying that I will sell you a pen and you will pay me this much amount of money, right? I mean, it doesn't need to be said in the contract that you will not cheat me by giving me a different kind of pen than what you have promised. Like you promised to give me gold pen, but actually you gave me a silver pen which is just a gold plated. It doesn't need to be written in the contract because obviously the IPC already contains under section 419 and 420 something regarding cheating, right? So there is no need to mention specifically each and every time you are entering into a contract when the applicable law already provides for that. There is a legal maxim which says that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Have you heard that? Ignorance of law is no excuse. So there is no need to specifically write in the contract that you will not cheat me. You are not supposed to cheat me. That is already there in the law, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. Okay. So in this particular situation, force majeure is not a matter of law. Okay, it's a matter of contract between parties. I will buy a pen from you and you will sell a pen to me. That is a matter between us. It is not written in IPC that I will sell a pen and you will buy a pen. Right? It is something between us. But no person will cheat another person. That has been written in the law. Okay. Now, out of these things, if we have not mentioned a force majeure clause in the contract, can we just bring it in from outside? Okay. Can we resort to some other clause which is there in the contract like MAC and may? Or can we resort to a uniform law which is applicable to everybody, the general law? Okay, what we see. Now, once again, the passage, in the absence of the same, applicable laws related to same will be taken into consideration. Very clearly, it means in absence of such clause in the contract, courts may resort to applicable law to give relief to the parties. Now, this is again very cut and dry, dot to dot question and answer given. Okay. I don't think there should be any problem in this. It's just a matter of English comprehension. If you read the passage carefully, if you look for the answer over there, you should be able to find it. Okay, no problems. All right. Now, moving on to the next question. Question number 69. Whoever would like to try to answer this question, please raise your hand and go for it. Okay, Shantanu, go ahead.
Sir, the answer of this question should be option B because the force majeure clause is only applicable when it's a case of act of God. And in this situation, act of God is not present.
And what is act of God?
Sir, act of God means earthquakes, floods, hurricanes. It is mentioned in the passage.
Right. So there are very, very defined kind of things which are act of God, and there's very, very defined things which are force majeure. Force majeure would include, apart from act of God, it would also include, let's say, terrorist activities, insurgencies, strikes, etc., which are again maybe not act of God, but beyond the control of you and me. Right? I cannot control that a war is going on, or a war will start, or a war will stop. Right, but I can definitely control whether I will kind of supply the goods to you or not. In a normal scenario, if I am running a mill, it is natural that there is going to be a strike among the workers. It's natural that there's going to be fall and rise of prices. So being a proper business person, I must account for these things. I must account for the fact that if tomorrow some of my staff stop working for me, there should be enough inventory available to meet the demand. Okay, if the prices rise and fall of the commodity, there should be enough, reserves with me to absorb that profit or to absorb that loss, right? But of course, I cannot, provide for the fact that there will be a fire in my factory, apart from maybe taking out some insurance policies or something like that, right? But it is not an ordinary risk which I'm taking. A fire, a flood, a war, insurgency, these are not ordinary risks. Okay, prices of a product falling and rising, workers of a factory quitting or striking, that is a very ordinary risk that every business person has to take. Okay, so this is the thing. Fine, good. Now, coming to question number 70. Who wants to answer? Please raise your hand.
So because in the answer will be D, because in the question it says that typically MAE provision is an agreement, and MAE is an earthquake that it is not in our hand. But here it says materially adverse change affect or assess the business, property, liability, financial condition, result operations of the target, or affect the ability of transacting party to consummate the transaction.
Right. Okay. Now, at first glance, it seems that this is a very, very tough question, right? How could they just take a whole passage from a contract and give it to us? Because, like, even right now, when I do, commercial contracts, they have these clauses. And these are exactly the kind of clauses that are found in those contracts. So for me, it's very, very easy to say, yeah, this is a Mac and May clause, obviously. But as a student, how are you supposed to understand? Okay. Now, they have clearly explained it in the question itself. Forget about the passage. In the question itself, they have said that this provision, first of all, material adverse change. What does it mean? Material means something which is actually very, very relevant. Okay. So if I say that, something is material to the discussion, that means it is relevant to the discussion. It is something which has some kind of impact. Okay, if we are talking about like some serious issues like US presidential elections or something like this, and if somebody says that like in America people are very obese, okay, that's not material to the discussion. Maybe it's true, maybe it's false, okay, but it's not relevant to the discussion. So material means something which is very, very relevant and very, very important. Okay, material. Adverse means negative. Okay, like I don't want to make any sort of adverse remarks against you. It means I don't want to say something negative about you. Okay, change obviously means change. So material adverse change means some sort of very, very relevant, very, very important, some sort of very, very impactful negative kind of change in the terms of the contract. Okay, in the arrangement between us. So for example, if there was arrangement between us for buying and selling of a pen, and then my shop burned down, that is a material change, isn't it? It's a relevant change because that's where the pens were being stored. Suppose my other shop had burned down where the pens are not stored, that is not material. How does it matter? Right? If I was having like pencils in another store which burned down, doesn't matter because you want to buy a pen which is in this shop and this is still there. So it's not a material change. Okay. So first of all, material. Second of all, if it has burned down, definitely it is adverse. Okay. If it had not burned down, rather if I had got one more shop next to it additionally, that is not an adverse change. That's a beneficial change. Right. So it has to be material, it has to be relevant, and it has to be adverse. It has to be negative. Okay. Now, once you understand the meaning of MAC, material adverse change, and MAE, material adverse effect. Obviously, when there is a change, there has to be effect. So the material adverse effect was that I no longer had any pens in stock because of that fire. That was a material adverse effect that took place, right? Now, having understood these kind of things, it is clearly written, materially adverse change or effect on the assets, business, property, terms of the contract like we just discussed, okay, would take place. That is called a MAC or May. That has met the criteria. Now, if you look at these clauses, in the event either party is unable to perform due to act of God, strike, equipment, transmission, failure, damage, etc., etc., clearly it is showing these are all very adverse things, right? And these are very, very material things because of these things they are not able to perform. So it is material to the non-performance. It is related to the non-performance, directly related to non-performance. Okay, definitely it is. Secondly, except with respect to payment obligation, that is not important. No party shall be liable for any failure to perform its obligations as a result of cause beyond its control, including earthquake, labor problem, unavailability of supplies, etc. etc. Okay. Some of you will ask me, and I hope that you all will ask me, because I don't know if you all are paying as much attention or not. But in this clause, in both these clauses, it says one word over here, labor problem, right? And over here it says one word, which is strikes, right? Now you are saying strikes and labor problems, that means union issues, factory labor, factory workers issues, all of these are still falling under the criteria of MAE, material adverse effect, material adverse change, right? But if you look in the question above we just discussed, that faced issues in relation to procurement of goods due to mill strike, okay? But this was not held to be force majeure, okay? That is because these two concepts are very different. One, we are talking about force majeure. One, we are talking about MAC-MA. MAC-MA is what? Material adverse change, material adverse effect. Okay, that has caused a change in the circumstances. But was that change something which was done by God, or was it something which was out of the control of human beings? No. That's why it will not be force majeure, but it will still be a material adverse effect. Still, it will be material adverse change. Okay, so these two are very different things. Question number 69 is dealing with force majeure. Question number 70 is dealing with MAC-MA. Okay. And once we are dealing with MAC-MA, after understanding what is written in the question, the definition of MAC-MA, you can easily understand that option A and option B both are examples of MAC-MA clause.